Hey, it's 1 o'clock, 1300 military people, 9/27/2022. I'll be heading out to Seattle for the September Cloud Security Alliance event, which should be interesting. There's a zero trust panel, so they were kind enough to invite me out there for that. If you or your company or whoever is going to be in Seattle, hit me up because I don't really know Seattle, so it'd be interesting to say hi to people. Other than that, I'm going to move quick because it's Tuesday. People have got other things to do than listen to me ramble on. But I'm going to follow up some of the other points that were made on recent conversations and go forward from there. So, Uber had their breach. Everybody armchair quarterback that, whatever. Twilio had a breach. Actually, if you go look, and I'll post the link to this at the end of it. I worked with the guys at Banyan who were very kind in putting together a demo of just how easy it would be to do the Twilio thing again and just jump past that whole phishing defense sort of side of it. So I think that that's really worth looking at. It was easy to do. Took them, I think, an afternoon to put together the domains and whatnot, and then go forward from there. The Uber one, I'm reading up on that one right now, but it's a little bit further down the rabbit hole because it required someone to do deeper social engineering, and there was the whole issue of someone getting alerts and then not or basically getting so many MFA prompts that they just got sick of it and clicked auth, which I don't honestly know how to feel about that one. The employees probably, I think, at fault, but then again, whoever configured the system is also at fault, I would say, because you can put limits on that stuff. I mean, you can say after 3 X happens, or if you step up auth or whatever else. So that one's going to continue to get more interesting. I'd suggest to, and yeah, anybody can get fished anywhere. Matter of fact, I just had the laziest fish that I've ever had come across the bow ever, where somebody sent me a thing in PayPal that literally said, "Here's an invoice for you." I don't do business in PayPal. I don't know why I would get an invoice in PayPal. And all it basically said is, click this thing. So yeah, lazy fishes. Anybody can get fished. Personally, that's why I like browser isolation, because browser isolation seems to do pretty good things. And I had a couple folks say that the video seems to be a little bit clippy. I'm trying to make the electrons move as fast as I can. Not much I can do there, but it'll catch up on the far end. All right, so let's run through some of the Uber stuff, because like I was saying, the Uber thing was interesting, the breach, whatever. However, you would think that an organization that just had a major incident like that would lock down everything all the time, right? They would be pushing as hard as possible to get, in a better place. And I'm sure they are. I'm sure they have good people working on it. However, should I be able to find really easily misconfigured things related to Uber? And again, none of what I do on this is illegal. This is all authorized. This is all okay. You can do this all day, every day. I'm not saying you should, but easy peasy. So let's look at the Uber issue. So I'm looking at Uber stuff right now. Do the right things, tickle the right electrons. There's 18 total results, which for a company of that size, 18 is not a big deal. But 18 is substantial when you think about what's here. So the ones that pop out immediately to me is a VPN issue, and it's VPN-uber.com. So that's probably something that should be looked at right there. Mail server misconfiguration. Mail server misconfiguration is a problem. Mail server stuff is right here, easy to find, has everything that you would want to look at. And again, this is for a company that was just breached, just beat up in the news, etc. I'm not trying to pile onto the dead bodies here, but I'm just making a point that the breach response may not be as wholehearted as we're hoping. So yeah, there you go. So other server accesses, total of 18 misconfigured things that you can find right now. The question that I have on this particular instance is if I can find 18 of these things this quick, this fast, this easy, what could someone with a really dedicated resource or time horizon do, and how far down the rabbit hole could you go? I would say it's probably pretty significant. So let's just say that Uber is still working through their issues. Fine, fair. Okay, now the other part of it is I said on my posting that I was going to cover the VPN report from Zscaler. I've got that up there. However, let's talk about VPN in the first place, virtual private network. Now, I recently did a thing with a pretty large organization, trained a bunch of people on cybersecurity. Everyone's response in there was, well, we use VPNs. I think I got a little bit sick and I think I almost fell over and whatever. But the common understanding is that VPNs equal security. VPNs don't equal security. VPNs are an antiquated technology that pipe you direct to where you need to go, and it introduces risk. Everyone talks about fucking risk in this place. VPNs introduce risk. So let's just do some very simple things to point out the VPN problem. So if you use the right search engine, you do the right things. Again, I don't tell people what I do specifically because this could get you in trouble if you don't know what you're doing. But there's 703,000 misconfigured VPNs in the United States that have something talking to the internet in a way or manner that it shouldn't talk. So 700,000, not 7, not 70, 700,000. So let's just mark that number down. So there's roughly 750,000 misconfigured VPN things that are on the internet right now that you could find if you did what I'm doing. Okay, great. Is that the end of the world? Does that mean every single one of those is compromisable? No. But again, let's play the percentage. Give me 5% of 700,000. Pretty large number. Okay, great. Let's go one level down on the VPN thing. So I just told you I've got 700,000 in the United States, 703,606 to be specific. Let's go down one level and find some organizations that are using those VPNs that are vulnerable, right? That have vulnerable stuff, misconfigured, etc. If I go a little bit deeper into there, I'm getting on a plane tomorrow, and I'm also flying to Texas to go help my parents out, and then I have to go do a couple of other things over the next week. I'm going to be on a plane all across the country. Essentially, I'm going from here to Seattle to Texas to Florida, as long as Florida's still there post-hurricane, which God bless you guys, hope you do okay, and then back to where I'm at. So I'm going to be on a lot of Boeing planes. Boeing has already had their issues with the whole MCAS system, but let's just say their VPNs are not much better. There's 207 misconfigured VPNs in the US that are directly linked to the Boeing company. I'm looking at them right now. The majority of them are in Raleigh-Durham. Where is Raleigh-Durham for Boeing? Oh, that's a headquarters area. Interesting. Now, if we look at that and go further into that, I can see actual interactions with VPN endpoints inside of that infrastructure. And the great thing about it is you get translated IP addresses. And all of these, when I'm looking at them, have a lack of authentication. So, from 700,000 to 207 for a company like Boeing, I've got 207 potential avenues of access that pipe you directly into some piece of infrastructure. What could you do with that? Does that mean you could destroy the company? Probably not. Does that mean you might be able to find interesting things, do some in-map scanning, etc., poke around, move laterally, blah, blah, blah? Probably, possibly. And what else is there? Could you steal intellectual property? Probably, possibly. Is it going to bring planes down out of the sky? Probably not. Hopefully not. But is it a risk? Sure. How much money is Boeing spending on cybersecurity and security in general per year? Probably a shitload. But here are 207 easy avenues of potential access and compromise. Again, with an internet search. Took me like 8 minutes. Now let's go down one more level, because this is worth pointing out, because I'm going to go to the VPN thing from the report here in a second. Hurricane electric. Critical infrastructure, electric productivity, the ability to make sure that you're taking care of ICS SCADA systems, etc. Hurricane Electric LLC is also in this particular VPN sort of configuration issue that I'm looking at here. And I'm just putting these organizations out here. I always let them know, and they always send me a cease and desist letter. But here it is. And the funny thing about it is I see two different types of IP addressing for this particular company. because of the access that VPNs provide to you. I see that they're also using IPv6, not just IPv4. So interesting, super cool. You guys are doing better networky things than most people are. However, your shit's misconfigured and you're able to see the conversion of IP addresses in there. The funny thing here is, because of what they do, which is electric stuff, these systems have got remote shutdown protocol enabled. So what does that mean? That means you could shut stuff down. Does it seem like it's bad for an electric company to have an ability to remotely shut stuff down exposed to the internet via VPN connectivity? Am I the only one that gets how crazy bad this stuff is and etc.? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Now let's do one more thing on the tickling the internet side, because this is worth looking at. Again, ICS SCADA control. There's big time government dollars and funding going into this stuff. I happened to sit into a closed door session recently on Capitol Hill that was talking about the future state of ICS SCADA. There's a lot of really great people working on this problem. However, doing the right things and looking at the right stuff, I find 205 misconfigured systems that are talking to the internet where you can get actual UI interactive content. And there's a blower thing here. The one that's interesting to me is that there's a steam plant master configuration and control system that's misconfigured this way. Now, if you're not feeling good about that, I was in the Navy. Guess what you can do with high pressure steam, or not even necessarily high pressure steam, but low pressure steam. If you vent something incorrectly in a steam system, you can burn people alive. You can burn stuff up. And looking at the temperatures of these particular steam systems, they're substantial. So this would concern me. And this is for a school. There's children at this particular organization or infrastructure, whatever else. It tells you the level of steam, the temperature of steam, where it's being directed, etc. And there's 1, 2, 3 valves that are right there. Like, you could vent steam into this particular school, which would probably hurt some kids. I'm not okay with that. That's not cool. Some other ICS SCADA stuff that you can see here really simply by looking around and knowing what you're doing. Grain systems, people, let's see, corn, bean, wheat. So someone has a misconfiguration for where they're storing corns, beans, and wheat. And this is the temperature control and humidity control. And it looks like it's a pretty substantial amount of crop. Again, if you got into this and started messing with things and turning stuff on and off, what happens if you affect food productivity? I don't know if you're aware, but we're in a pretty interesting situation here in the United States right now where we have inflation going on. Everything is costing more. If I go in here and start messing with valves and change the to humidity, I'm a farm boy. I know that that's bad for crops. What if I affect the crops and our ability to deliver like this? Everybody talks about cascading effects and risks and whatever else. I can't really get much more clear on just how probable the attacks are and how possible it is to do this. This is a city in Benton, Illinois, which is obviously doing some sort of bio production. Sedalia, Missouri, which has got a pump control system misconfigured. Oh, and you can also shut the alarms off on this one, which is super nice. And then here's one where they didn't even bother with actually setting up a thing in front of the actual server that controls it. Literally, it's logged in with the user exposed to the internet through RDP, and there's the ability to interact with it right here on an ICS SCADA system. And this is in Akron, Ohio. So, yeah. I mean, the point that's worth making is how problematic this whole thing is, how bad it can get. Is it a bridge too far? I don't think so. Is it a problem? Absolutely. We should be fixing this stuff. This does not require hundreds of millions of dollars and 2,370 something vendors in the space or whatever else. Literally, all this requires is someone to sit down and go, you know what? We should just run these scans and notify these organizations. And if they don't patch or fix their shit in a certain amount of time, you get fined. If fines don't work, we'll just take away your tax benefits, your tax credits. Because guess what? You want to see companies jump through their ass to fix a problem, affect their taxes. All right, I'm off my high horse. Now, let me run through this VPN report because this was from Zscaler. It was published this week. VPN risk report. Overview, organizations of doing more VPNs, blah, blah, blah. VPNs are exploitable. The 2022 VPN risk report surveyed 351 cybersecurity professionals, provide insight into the state of VPNs in their enterprise. All right. Key findings on the VPN side. 78% of organizations are concerned about ransomware attacks. I find that statistic to be probably woefully inaccurate because I don't think you can find me an organization that's not concerned about ransomware attacks. So other than that, I think this is an interesting study, but that one to me is probably like, I don't know. 44% witness an increase in exploits targeting their VPN. Okay, fine. 65% of companies are considering adopting VPN alternatives. Good. Define VPN alternatives. Hopefully they're moving on to something like ZTNA. 80% of companies are in the process of adopting zero trust in 2022. Good. 2022 is coming to an end, so I hope they're moving faster. 68% say their focus on remote work accelerated the priority of zero trust projects, up from 59 in 2021. So an increase in the focus, which is good. Are you currently using a VPN within your organization? 95% of the people surveyed, 350 of them said yes. 5% said no. I would say most organizations, just like I looked at just a second ago on the internet, probably have some sort of VPN somewhere doing something. So is it fair to say 95% of organizations probably have VPN, including legacy stuff? Sure. When requiring secure access to business applications, which group takes priority? Employees, 69%, obviously. 21% customers, sure. Contractors and partners match up at 5%. Okay. What devices are workers using to connect to business resources and applications? 70% is a corporate device. So managed device is something that they've issued. 27% is a combination of BYOD and corporate owned, and then the other is BYOD. More BYOD than I thought I would have seen. Where are your private applications currently running? Now, this is what was interesting too. 74% say it's in a data center, so still on-premise, I guess you could call it. Private cloud, 49%. Azure, AWS, and Google were 45, 44, and 22. So actually a pretty substantial increase over the course of the last couple of years, almost by a factor of 2x, and moving to those clouds with Azure leading. Private cloud, if you looked at this data over the course of the last few years, is going away, and more folks are moving to public cloud, but they're using VPN to manage that. How many different inbound VPN gateways do you have globally? 61% of companies have 3+ VPN gateways inbound. The average, the largest percentage is 38% with 5 or more VPN gateways globally. What is the biggest challenge? Requires giving employees third access to corporate network, high cost of security appliance and infrastructure, and lack of visibility into user activity. Yes, I'm going to answer these questions here in a second, so bear with me. I'm getting there. I promise I'm not just going to keep beating the VPN up. Are you aware that cyber criminals are targeting VPNs to gain access to network resources through exploits such as RCEs, Windows servers, ransomware? 97% say yes. So 97% of the people surveyed say, yes, we're aware that this is how bad guys access systems and cause problems. 95% of that 97 say, well, we're going to use VPNs. Seems kind of dumb. What type of internet attacks are you most concerned about? Ransomware, social engineering at 70, 80-ish%, malware, web apps at 49 or 50, and DDoS at the end about less than 50. Have you witnessed an increase in exploits targeting the VPN since your employees have been working remotely? 44% yes, 22% say unsure. I would say that unsure probably should be a yes, so let's just call that 66% essentially. How concerned that VPN may jeopardize the ability to keep an environment secure? 71% are concerned that VPN may jeopardize the ability to keep the environment secure. And lastly, 1 or 2 more things here. So, is adopting a zero trust model a priority for your organization? 80% of companies say yes. Has the focus on remote work accelerated the priority of zero trust projects at your organization? 68% say yes. Have you considered remote access alternatives to VPN? 65% say yes, considered, not implemented. Fast forward to 2023, what does your remote access look like at your company? Basically 78%, 80% of the people say employees have flexibility to work anywhere they want during the week. Okay, cool. In conclusion, the takeaways are users were accessing apps and data is critical, and accessing apps and data, both in the data center and cloud, is critical as well. VPNs are increasingly risky. Sure, businesses are concerned. A majority of organizations have prioritized plans to adopt a ZT strategy. Okay, great. But the point, and I actually applaud Zscaler for not kind of just vomiting a bunch of vendor bullshit into this whole thing. But the interesting piece of it too is Zscaler. Zscaler actually didn't go off and go and say like, look, here's how simple it is to fix this problem. It is not difficult to move from VPN to a ZTNA or ZT focused approach. Policy engines are built to do those types of things. Is it difficult when you try and do it at enterprise scale with a magic button and just roll it out for 100,000 users at once? Absolutely. Like, that's stupid. Is it doable if you do it small and you roll that stuff out correctly and use policy engines the right way, use the cloud the right way, approach the problem with a focus on the long-term migration? Yeah. So here we are where you've got organizations that are saying, we know that this is a risk. We know that this is a problem. I can find 700,000 of them in the United States that are probably misconfigured and have get issues. And yet they're still hindering and hemming and hawing around and like, well, what do we do about this? You move to ZTNA, you move to zero trust, you get off the VPN. Organizations should ask themselves, are you still using accounting software that came around in 1993? That's when the VPN first went into production. Would you think that your business is very future focused if it was using that stuff? No. All right, enough beating on the VPN for now. Let's talk about this TikTok thing. If you're not familiar with TikTok, you're living under a rock. That kind of rhymes. I guess I should get a rap career going or something. But anyway, TikTok is a thing that people and kids use or whatever else. But here's something that showed up in the news that I thought was worth pointing out. The UK's Information Commission Office issued a notice of intent to TikTok stating that it reached a provisional view that the app breached UK data laws from May 2018 through July 2020. According to the notice, TikTok may have, and this is what's funny, may have processed the data of children under 13 years old without parental consent. TikTok has 30 days to respond to this notice, which was as of yesterday. TikTok has processed people's information. If your kids are under 13 and they use TikTok, guaranteed, look at the terms of service, they've processed that information. Oh, and by the way, where is it hosted? Where is it produced by, etc.? Like, there you go. The New York Times say TikTok and the Biden administration drafted a preliminary agreement to resolve national security concerns, but no deal has been finalized yet. This will reportedly center around ensuring China-based TikTok employees don't have access to American data, granting Oracle power to monitor what's recommended in TikTok to prevent Chinese propaganda, and forming a board of security experts to oversee TikTok's U.S. operations. Now, I'm going to say something relatively political here, and it's not about the administration or Democrats. If you ever wanted to see influence and lobbying and how that affects what's going on with our personal lives and security and our positions and our kids, there it is. TikTok lobbied the fuck out of this whole thing. They threw a shitload of money at it. They worked their way around it, and now they're getting this backdoor deal in where they're going to be able to go off and make this happen. And guess what? None of that is going to change how China does what China does. It's not going to change how this stuff ultimately wiggles its way back into something else and causes a problem on the far end. If you are using TikTok, if your children are using TikTok, whatever else, there is an influence operation going on there. Their data is being processed and targeted and used for a variety of things. Get rid of TikTok. That's all I can say. This would have happened with any organization. This is what lobbying does. this is where things go wrong for Americans in general. Is money's the root of all evil, and they're working their way to it. Fundamentally, this should not happen. I don't. There's a few hills that I think people should die on. I think this is one of them. TikTok is something that Americans, probably kids anywhere, should never use. So I would say be aware of that. If you're using it, get off of it. If your kids are using it, get off of it. That type of thought, that type of thing. Following along with that, and I'm going to wrap up quickly here because it's coming up on the half-hour mark. There was an interesting article on the Federal News Network from Danny Connolly. This was really talking about Zero Trust starts with its weakest link, the end users. Now, there's a problem with that particular title. It's not fair for us security people to say that end users are the weakest link. End users do what end users do. They're people that are trying to do their regular jobs that we have tried to say, oh, by the way, you've also got to be a security expert. And the technology has only just now gotten to the place where we can make those people be more secure and not ruin their everyday lives. So I think that title is wrong, and I don't think it's fair to the regular average end user. And I'm one of the ones that would flip over tables in the past about people getting phished and whatever else. It's wrong for us security people to try and make everyone a security person. The technology needs to be put in place to limit or eliminate or exponentially reduce an end user's ability to be the avenue of compromise. If you don't do that, then you are making that person the weakest link, because they're gonna get fucking owned. Like, that's just what happens. People click stuff, people interact with content. The internet's made that way. The bad guys are working their way through this. It's not fair to the average everyday user to go off and say, learn how to be a security expert so that you don't cause a compromise. We should be putting technology in front of them that enables them not to cause compromises. However, 88% of breaches are caused by human error, including phishing. So that's a pretty high statistic. We still should be fixing that. This talks about the three front lines of the government's new zero trust cyber defense sort of posture: technology teaming, starting from the top down, and employees and contractors. So if you haven't read this article, go read it, because it kind of talks about the way that they're going to structure the government's future state for ZT and how they're looking at implementing this whole side of it. Now, why is that of value to everybody out there? Well, the government, the DoD, the US DoD, is the unequivocated, I guess you call it, leader in cybersecurity specifically. And why is that? Well, because they're the ones that are actively engaged in literal cyber combat with the adversary. And it's problematic. It's not going to get better if we don't do the right things faster, more contractors, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this was an interesting article, but I think really the point to take away is that there's an effort going on within the federal government to put these pillars of kind of the overall approach into place, and that's going to affect more. All of us on the commercial side will follow what the DoD does because they're the ones engaged in conflict and doing the work and that are literally in this combat space. So know that, pay attention to it, be aware of what's going on there. Otherwise, you're missing the really important stuff that's going on. So that's 28 and a half minutes of me talking about stuff. We went through Uber. We talked about CSA thing in Seattle. We talked about how little I know about Seattle. We went through some of the issues around finding vulnerable VPNs. We talked about Zscaler. We talked about TikTok. Covered some pretty good ground. Anyway, I appreciate everyone that jumps onto this. If there's something I can do, some way I can help somebody, or something I can offer to benefit somebody else, please let me know. Other than that, going to be flying a lot. Hoping maybe I'll see you guys in the air. Hopefully Boeing fixes those VPN thingies, because not cool. And I will catch you on the next one. As always, stay smart, stay safe, stay secure. God bless. Catch you on the next one.